Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to make a quick revision for grade 5, starting for theme 1, concept 1, the plants. As we know that the plants are living things, so they can make their own food through a process called the photosynthesis process. Let's remember what are the plant parts, starting from the roots, stem, leaves, branches. Some plants have flowers and fruits. Plants can grow in air, water, and also the soil. So soil is not a basic need for the first days, but after different days, they need a soil or a replacement for the soil, so which we can call it as a hydroponic system. How does the plant make the photosynthesis process? By starting with the roots, they can absorb water and nutrients from the soil, reaching to the leaves by the help of the xylem. And when it reaches to the leaves have small holes on its surface called stomata, which absorb the carbon dioxide gas from the air, and also have the chlorophyll to absorb the sunlight from the sun to make the photosynthesis process. After making the food inside the leaves, so there are smaller tubes called the phloem, which transport the food down to the other parts of the plant. This is the meaning of the photosynthesis process. Then we talked about the types of the stem. We have upright stem, climb stem, wood stem, runners, and tubers. So there are 5 types of the stem. Ending the lesson with the way of the dispersal, we can see that some seeds float on the water like the coconut seeds, traveling by the wind like the maple and dandelion seeds, sticking to the animal fare like the burdock seeds as it have spines, or being eaten by another animals like the tomato seeds. This for the concept 1. Let's start in concept 2, which is starting with the ecosystem. What is the meaning of the ecosystem? It's any natural area which contains the living organisms and non-living things, and there is an interaction happen between them too, because they depend on each other to take their food or their energy. And any food chain must start with the plants because they can make their own food through the photosynthesis process. Then the energy started to transfer between the members through the food chain. So any food chain must start with the producers, consumers, and ends by the decomposers. What are the types of the consumers? As we know, primary consumer, secondary, and tertiary consumers. After transferring the energy and reaching to the tertiary consumer, here starting the role of the decomposers by making a process called the decomposition process, they can return back the nutrients again to the soil, so the plant can take it through the photosynthesis process and so on. So it's a continuous natural cycle happen in the nature. But don't forget that the percentage of energy that transfers between the living organism through the food chain is only 10%, and the higher percentage of energy, which is 90%, returning back again to the soil. Let's start with the concept 3, talks about the marine food web. The marine food web must start with algae, because they are the only organisms that live in the water and can make their own food through the photosynthesis process. Feeding on them some corals and some different types of fish like trigger, butterfly, and parrotfish, ending the marine food web with the shark, as they are called the top predators. And what is the meaning of the top predators? They are found at the top of the food chain. Not only the shark. If we are going to talk about the food chain on the land, so it may be tiger, lion, fox, wolf, hawks, and also vultures. Ending this concept, how can we prevent the pollution of the food web? By making a process called the rehabilitation process. So first we prevent the pollution, putting laws to prevent throwing the waste through the river and the sea, and also make a natural area in the sea called nursery, which we can take different types of small fish, providing the natural conditions like water, like sun, like their food, until they grow up and they can return back again to its natural habitat. Also, some coastal communities used the zero plastic. They can replace any plastic material with a wooden one, like they can replace the plastic fork or the plastic spoon by the wooden one. That's for the theme 1. Let's start with the theme 2, starting with the matter. First, we have to remember what is the meaning of matter. Anything around us is called matter, and it has mass and volume. What are the states of matter? There are 3 states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. What is the difference between each state? Solids have a definite shape and definite volume. Liquids have indefinite shape because they take the shape of its container and have a definite volume. Gas have indefinite shape and also indefinite volume, so they can take the shape and the volume of their containers. Like when you blow up in the balloon, it takes the shape of the balloon, but when you squeeze it, the molecules started to escape in a form of pop sound. What about the motion of the particles? We know that any matter consists of small tiny particles. What are their motion? If we are talking about in the solid state, so they move as a little bit, so they have the least thermal energy. While the liquid state moves moderate, so they have the moderate thermal energy, and gases have the highest thermal energy, so they move completely or very free. Ending the lesson with the matters, the particles, and also the microscope. How can we see the particles? We cannot see it with our eyes, but we can use and see it by using the microscope. Actually, the electron microscope. Also, scientists started to make the models to be easier for their studying. So they make a model for the germs because it's very small and can spread around us in air, water, and soil. They make a model for the solar system, as it consists of the sun and 8 planets that we cannot see it with our eye, and we need to study each planet with its details. Then we started to talk about the concept 2.2, also completing the matter and the motion of the particles in each state. Then finally talks about the mixture and the compound. What is the difference between mixture and the compound? Mixture, when we mix substance with other substance, it will form a new substance, but we can separate its components easily. While the compound, we cannot separate it easily. So if we have like the seawater, which contains water, salt, sand, and other elements. So first we have to make filtration to separate the sand from the water, then evaporation to separate the salt from it, and finally make it clear by a desalination process. Desalination makes the water clean or pure, so we can use it in drinking, in eating, in each field, as the water is very important in our life. So today we talked about what? We talked about the theme 1 talks about the plants and the function for each part. Concept 2.1, the ecosystem. Concept 3, the marine food web and the difference between its members and how can we prevent the pollution by making a rehabilitation process. That's for the theme 1. Theme 2 talks about the meaning of the matter, the states of the matter, the motion of the particles in each state, and what is the meaning of the models and how can the scientists use it. Concept 2 completing also the matter and how can we change state to another state. If we have a solid state into a liquid state, so by melting a process from liquid to solid, freezing, from liquid to gas, evaporation, from gas to liquid, condensation. And then we talked about the desalination process and how can we separate the components of the mixture easily. Finally, we will talk about the difference between the physical change and the chemical change. I can say that the physical properties like the melting, freezing, condensation, evaporation are physical properties because we can return back the matter again to its natural state. While the chemical change like the rusting, like the burning, smoking, ash, which makes a new substance that it cannot return back again to its natural original matter. So today we talked about what? We talked about theme 1, plant, the ecosystem and different types of it. Theme 2 talks about the matter, the states of matter, how can we change from one state to another, the desalination process, the difference between mixture and the compound, and also the difference between physical change and chemical change. This was a very small summary for the concepts that you have to study it. Good luck with best wishes. Try to study well and have a good day. Bye bye.